Hey guys, and thanks for tuning into Trade Chat. My name is Pantherborn of Azormist, and today I'm going to be passing along some tips to you from people who have hit the gold cap on how to make gold. And all of this information is courtesy of WarcraftEcon.net. Probably the best tip that I read in the Hall of Fame on WarcraftEcon.net came from player Silene of Meridon, US, and he said get an authenticator to protect your gold. So if you're in any way, striving to earn a lot of gold in World of Warcraft, pay $6.50 and get one of these. Because if you get hacked, I think there's a certain cap. It's like however much you can transfer on a character, which I think is 10K. I didn't look that up. If I'm wrong, freak out about it. I don't really care, but you won't get like 214,000 gold, which is the gold cap. So if you are in any way thinking about going for the gold cap, get an authenticator first, because if you get hacked, you're not going to get your shit back. The next tip I have for you comes from Kumiko of Malagos EU. His tip is to scan the auction house every time you get on. Look for things that are cheap and sell them for a little higher, but not too high. And a way he says to do this is to say there's 10 items in the auction house and they're lower than normal price. Buy the 10 items, send like 8 of them to an alt. List them on the alt for way too expensive, like double of what you paid, and just leave it for a couple hours. Let a bunch of people undercut you, because they're going to undercut you, but they're not going to way undercut you. They're only going to undercut you by, a few gold here, a few gold there, whatever the amount of money is in comparison. Then, after a few hours, the last couple that you have on your main tune, list those. They'll sell really quickly, and then you can go ahead and start canceling the high auctions that you listed on your alt tune, and you'll make more money this way. Another one of his tips is to try to gauge when your server is raiding and list your auctions about a half hour before the average raid time on your server. This is when people are in a bind. This is when people don't have time to go grind for enchant mats or for gems or whatever it may be. They only have a half hour and then they're going to be raiding, so they're much more likely to purchase your items from the auction house as opposed to going and getting them themselves. Ghostbachi of Stormscale EU, his biggest tip was not to buy anything unnecessary and that the key to wealth is careful spending. Suna of Daromir US said that he never undercuts anybody by more than a copper because it's not necessary. The only thing that matters is that you are the lowest buyout. It doesn't matter by how much lower you are. So he said he never undercuts by more than a copper because he doesn't need to. Another tip that Suna had was to try to figure out what people are buying and not list it too low and to be patient. People will buy items when they need them, not necessarily just because they're cheap. Another tip of his is if you're selling gems, only sell 2 to 3 of the same gem at one time. And if you're getting repeatedly undercut, only sell 1 at a time. Another really cool tip I came across comes from Tetsu and Daychoff of Doomhammer US. And I'm so sorry if I mispronounce your name. I suck at that kind of stuff. We all know that. What they said was just because you didn't pay for something doesn't mean it wasn't free. If you go and grind materials for an enchant or materials for a leg armor or materials for whatever, you may say, well, I'm profiting because I didn't spend any money on the materials. But if you spent an hour or two grinding for those materials, you spent time getting those materials. And in some cases, it may be more worth it for you rather than to craft that whole item, wait for it to sell, get undercut, blah, blah, blah. You may be better off just selling the raw materials if the profit margin isn't high enough because you had to put your time into grinding those mats. Hulan of Moonglade EU shared the tip with Warcraft Econ through the Hall of Fame that you shouldn't be afraid to buy good deals, even if it brings your total gold down by quite a bit. It's not every day that things go into the auction house for much lower than the market rate. So his tip to everyone is to buy things when they're cheap no matter what, because if they're way cheaper than what they normally go for, you're definitely going to profit on that. So it's worth it even if it brings your total gold down a lot. So I'd say the 3 most common tips that I saw on WarcraftEcon.net's Hall of Fame were to find a farmer to sell you mats in bulk for cheaper than what they're going on the auction house. If you're regularly buying from the same farmer, you'll get better deals because they know that you are a guaranteed customer of theirs. So if you're looking to make serious amounts of gold, find yourself a farmer. The second tip that I saw that was pretty much across the board was that none of these people who reach the gold cap reach the gold cap by grinding. I'm not saying that that's impossible, because I'm sure that there are people who have done it, but from the interviews that I read, most of these people worked the auction house, and that is how they made the money that they made. And the third tip that I saw all over these interviews was to loot everything. You wouldn't believe how many people don't loot everything. And everything has a vendor value. Even if it seems insignificant, if you're not looting it, those little insignificant amounts can never add up to significant amounts. So yeah, loot absolutely everything. If you want to find out more about how to make ridiculous amounts of gold and in turn spend ridiculous amount of gold, check out the link in the sub bar. WarcraftEcon.net is a great place to learn how to do that. For the meantime though, check out today's screenshot of the day. And it looks like that's my cue, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Remember to comment, thumbs up, and subscribe, and I'll see you soon. This is an authenticator. If you don't have one, link is in the sub bar to get an authenticator. My dogs just got home from taking a walk, and apparently they're really panty. Violet was hot after a walk. So now she's just laying in the tub with cool water pouring on her. I was like, Violet, let's get in the tub, and she just jumped right in. I turned the shower on, and she's just laying there. She's such a weird dog.